Hi friends, welcome once again. In this session of AutoCAD we're going to discuss regarding the chamfer command in AutoCAD. So this chamfer command in AutoCAD is similar to the fillet command in AutoCAD. So the main purpose is similar. We're going to remove the sharp edges, the corners, the vertices here to remove the stress concentration areas. Second point is safety of the operator. The reason is uh, we have to provide safety to the operator by removing the sharp edges, the corners, otherwise they may cut off his hands or the legs, something like that. And third most important factor is edge preparation for the welding. For this reason also I can perform chamfer operation. Now let us see how exactly we can invoke these commands in AutoCAD. Either I can enter chamfer here, I can go to home, modify, and then left click on the chamfer command to invoke this one. Let us see how exactly it works. So there's something known as setup here. It's asking for the first chamfer length, second chamfer length, and then the angle. So it says trim geometry. The first length is what is the first length from this corner to the length until which chamfer has to be performed. Second length is second geometrical entity what you are going to select in that case. So the length is applicable from the vertex to the distance or the point until which you want to perform chamfer. For example, with reference to the first entity, if you are mentioning as 100, so it is from, if you want to select this entity as the first entity, geometrical entity for performing chamfer operation, then the distance would be calculated from this vertex to the 100 mm distance. Okay, the point until which I'm going to achieve 100 distance, horizontal distance, that is the distance. So second entity, if I'm going to select this as second entity, so from this to the point until which the distance I'm going to read the distance. For example, if I'm going to mention it as 200, from this to 200 distance, so that is second distance. So I can change it. The first entity I can select this one and second one. So as per the requirement we can do that. Let us see. Now go to setup, and then here I'm going to enter 200, and then the second one has 100 here. I'll say yes. The first one is 200, second one is 100. This is my first entity, this is my second entity. You can observe here. If you want to extend it to know how exactly it's going to work, if you want to extend it, just try to extend this. So you're going to get a corner, something like this. So delete these things, and then let us see how exactly it worked. So select from this end point, and then this is also end point. Or you can do one thing, select intersection and then the end point. You can see here this is 200. So go to vertical, end point, select the intersection, it's 100. So that was 200 and this is 100. This is how it's going to work. The first selected entity distance, if I enter it as 200, that is the distance from this vertex to the point until which I'm going to achieve 200 distance. So from this point to the point until which I'm going to achieve 100 units. That's how it's going to be. I'm going to delete this and then perform the other operations as per my requirement. So let us invoke the chamfer command once again. Go to chamfer. So either you can go to setup straight away, or you can provide the angle value or the distance value. So I'm going to enter the distance. One thing what you have to remember here is you should enter the distance value. Okay, here it is 500, and then the other entity is something bigger than that. Okay, it's 1000. So always ensure that while entering the chamfer distance, ensure that the chamfer distance is less than the smallest geometrical entity length. Let us invoke chamfer command. Okay, and provide the distance. So while providing the distance, this is 500, right? If I enter it as 600, both for the first and second entities. Okay, now I'm going to select this entity. Okay, and then second entity. It says invalid. The reason is whatever chamfer distance I had given, it is more than the smallest geometrical entity length. But there are other options to get that. But now I'm going to enter the variable as 500. Let us see how exactly I can do that, where I can able to get the chamfer or not. Here you can observe we got the chamfer, but there is one more methodology, that is trim mode. The variable by default it is 1, change it to 0. Now we could able to get, even if if I mention the chamfer distance more than the smallest geometrical entity length dimension, then also I will be able to get the chamfer. So invoke the command and it's going to ask for the distance. Okay, I'm going to enter the distance 600. Select the first entity, select the second entity. Now I could able to get it. So that is the difference between trim mode 0 or trim mode 1. Now change it back to trim mode 1. So it was 0, I made it 1. Better to keep it as 1, otherwise you would be confused with this. Then invoke the command chamfer. There is something known as polyline here. Before that we want to discuss regarding angle. It is asking for the chamfer length. What is chamfer length? The inclined line what you saw, that is chamfer length. I'm going to enter the value as 100. Okay, once again invoke this. There was a mistake there, so make it as 100. So it's going to ask the angle from the first line, so make it 45 degree. Okay, it's going to ask for the first line, it's going to ask for the second line. So what is this? Go to incline and then measure this distance. So it is 141.42. Then what is the difference? So there was a mistake from my end. I said it is inclined line, it is not inclined line. Let us see what is this line. Okay, draw a horizontal line, draw one vertical line. Then we will see what is this particular line. Measure this, go to end point, then the intersection point. You can observe here the chamfer distance is 100. Here also it would be 100. If I select the vertical measurement variable, go to intersection, go to end point. So this dimension is 100 units. So that means from this point to this vertex it's 100. From vertex to this point it is 100 units. And the angular dimension from this to this is 45 degrees. You can see here from this entity to this entity it's 45. It's going to ask regarding two variables. One is this distance, the other one is the angle from the first selected entity. So you should remember that. And then I am going to undo this. So go to chamfer option once again. Otherwise select it from home and then modify panel, go to chamfer, invoke that, and then either you can say setup. Here earlier we selected these two entities length. Now you can select the first chamfer length and then the angle as per your requirement. If you want to trim the geometry, you can trim. Otherwise if you don't want to trim, you can retain it as per your requirement. Okay, now I am going to invoke the chamfer command. We discussed regarding distance, we discussed regarding angle, then we are going to discuss regarding polyline. In order to perform this polyline, we should have a polyline already. In order to perform chamfer using polyline subcommand, we should have a polyline generated using polyline command. You can select this at a stretch. You can generate the chamfers in all the corners. No need to select individually at a time. You can generate it. So that is the thing. So thank you friends. In the next session we're going to continue with the chamfer command. Leftover options we're going to discuss in the second session.